Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 22-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living near Frankfurt, Germany. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record all of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. Today we are at Boulderhaus Darmstadt. A few people have been recommending this gym to Maddie and I, and we've been sort of meaning to go have a session here for a while, but we're just always caught up in Studio Bloc. The boulders there are just so amazing, and they set so often that it's hard to leave. But that being said, those aren't the only gyms that exist. And the other awesome thing about this place as well is that it's actually very close to our apartment.
It's like the first stop after the first stop after our apartment. So yeah, it's much closer. And we visited this gym on like a rest day.
Yeah, we went and scoped it out because our workout setup on our roof disappeared one day, and we needed a new workout setup. And we'd sort of seen some pictures and videos online of this place's workout setup. So on a rest day, we went and checked out this gym, and it turned out to have everything we need. So at the very
90% of everything we need.
Okay, yeah, sure. Maddie doesn't have like a place to do her squats with a bar.
There's no bar there, so they don't have plates or anything. They just have enough to do pull-ups and hangboard and stuff. So it's good enough. It's fine.
Yeah, but for me, it's absolutely perfect, and it's like a lifesaver. So we're going to be doing all of our workouts here. And, I've come here a couple times already to do my workout, and I've obviously been sitting around in between my sets looking at all the boulders, and I've noticed a lot of good stuff up, so I was actually excited for this session.
Wait, so how many times have you been to this gym?
I've been 3 times. I think I've done 3 workouts here, and then this is our first time climbing. And so with this gym, how the grading works, for some context, is they have just these tags. If you'll notice this little black tag on the left crimp at the start there. So black tag is the hardest, and a cool thing about this place is they had a lot of black tags up, so many, probably 15 plus or something. So that was pretty much just the theme for the session, was just to go around and try all the black tags.
So I don't know if you thought this as well, but when I was there, when we were checking out the gym, I thought the tags were really hard to see, and you can't really tell where the finish holds are. I find that a little bit frustrating. But did you, when you were walking around, did you find that they were kind of hard to decipher?
Yeah, a little bit hard, but I mean, we've been to so many gyms as well that I kind of just am used to finding out how a gym works and just almost figuring it out. Some gyms will have unique ways of doing the taping and the tagging, so I'm used to kind of sort of figuring it out. It was a little confusing, but not too much. The only kind of confusing thing is with the black tags. Some of them have these little diamonds on it, like you can see on this finish hold here. I don't know if there's a difference between the black tags without a diamond and with the diamond. They felt pretty similar.
It sounds like they're just setter's choice, or
that would make sense actually.
Extra cool.
This one is a gem.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Oh, a gem. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just sticking to I'm basically just going around trying all the black tags in the gym for this session, and we have just an hour of bouldering as well. So when I was kind of scoping out the boulders as well, I could tell that they all look sort of moderate, maybe just slightly softer than Studio Bloc, pretty similar though. And so I had a good feeling that I was probably just going to go and be able to do most of these boulders. But there were definitely a couple that I was a bit worried about. So far we're doing pretty well. I'm doing all these boulders within 1 or 2 tries.
That was super tall man there.
That was pretty tall.
That would not be my beta.
Yeah, I didn't need that little hold out on the right. And if you'll notice kind of a theme with this gym, all these boulders are actually very physical. So you'll notice that most of the boulders that we do at Studio Bloc are kind of technical base, and they have powerful boulders, but I'd say technical style climbing is sort of the most prominent theme at Studio Bloc. And at this gym, it's actually quite nice. They just have a lot of physically hard boulders, which I always love, right? This is kind of similar to our home gym, Climbers Rock. And I guess this is a kind of a nice time to shout it out too. Climbers Rock is our title sponsor for the COMPCLIMB series. It's Maddie and I's home gym back in Canada, and it's where we do most of our training. It's the most magnificent climbing gym in the Toronto area, and we have the link in the description if you want more information. But so we do most of our training at CR, and it's kind of known for having steep walls and powerful style bouldering. So that's kind of the style of climbing that I was raised on, and I almost felt like I was at home while I was climbing around in this gym.
And it's funny because when I started climbing at Climbers Rock, I was I did not like it. I was not vibing with the overhanging. I'm good at powerful boulders, but I'm not used to only doing powerful boulders my entire session. So this gym, I don't know how I'm gonna fare.
That's a good point.
This gym, but it looks like there's a good amount of vertical.
There's definitely some vert and some slab and comp style stuff. I just noticed that there was a nice little sort of surplus of powerful boulders.
Well, you can like tell it's like an old school kind of gym. Like some of the holds are maybe a little bit older too. I mean, this shot I feel like everything's new, but
it actually kind of had like a Canadian feel almost. Yeah.
Like a rock oasis.
Yeah, so like yeah, sort of just like classic style climbing, which I was like, and it's kind of funny too with like CR, like Maddie was just mentioning. Like people's first time there, a lot of times will kind of be hit with this sort of like shock of like, whoa, all these boulders are super physical, and it sort of like is hard to almost climb in the gym sometimes, and it will get you strong. So I feel like this gym is like also similar, and it'll kind of just get you strong naturally if you climb here a lot. But yeah, we're going around doing a bunch of boulders. We had a cool little triple clutch there.
How hard was that, by the way?
The triple clutch?
Yeah.
It was definitely a softer version of the paddle. The feet were kind of slippery, and actually something about the walls here. And I was kind of chatting with the setters too, and I got a kick out of it. And they were like, "Yeah, it's kind of a theme with this gym. It's very slippery. They're almost
the
like
holds or the walls.
The walls.
Oh, the walls.
And like a lot of the volumes too, but the walls are very slippery. And I found myself actually getting tripped up on a lot of boulders.
That's actually probably good because like that's the trend with like World Cups now. Like the walls don't have texture on them.
And also a trend with the World Cups is almost like the walls are all different. Like some will have texture and some won't. And it's like actually you need to be. This is kind of an underlooked thing, honestly, with competitions is different wall textures can throw you off sometimes, and you need to almost be ready for any sort of challenge when it comes to just the walls, like the way it affects like how you can smear, or if you need to almost press on the wall sometimes. So anyway, this gym kind of has like a unique theme with like there's sort of slippery walls, which I found was tripping me up throughout the session sometimes, and like some slippery volumes too. But yeah, this boulder here with the pink holds was my favorite boulder from the session. This boulder climbed really well. It's like pretty. It's like it's pretty as well, and it's got. Usually I'm not like a fan of cave climbing, but this was like a very nicely set cave climb. You can see here I'm like taking a little while to figure out the start. I realized later that they actually do a good job of like forcing like a backward sequence. This sloper that I'm trying to go to with my hand is actually just meant for your toe hooks.
Oh great, now I don't get to sequence it for myself.
So I'm getting Maddie to just sit in on this voiceover with me, because I think we're going to try and start doing this more as well. And it might actually get to the point eventually where we're kind of doing all the voiceovers together all the time. We'll see if we can make that happen. But yeah, just to kind of have like a second opinion and like maybe ask me some questions. But a kind of downside is that she's going to end her rest month pretty soon. And so by watching me do all the boulders, like I got on most of the boulders in this gym today, so she'll kind of get all of her reading ruined.
Hopefully I forget some of
I'm
this
sure
stuff.
you will forget.
Like I already forgot a couple of the boulders.
She doesn't pay when she's watching me climb. She doesn't pay attention. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of a good thing.
But the thing about rest month is like you come off of rest month and you have like all the local gyms are like completely reset, and that's like the magic. You get to like just on site right away and get going project and stuff. But now I feel like I know everything that's up. It's not really a surprise anymore, but I haven't climbed any of it at least. So
it's true. And actually, I mean, Maddie can use this actually as an opportunity to practice a certain skill, which I've kind of talked about in the past that I practice myself, which is to be able to see beta, like see my beta, and try to almost not let it affect how you would climb a boulder, because this will happen. So when I was kind of bringing up this topic like a few episodes ago, I was sort of approaching it more from like the scramble format perspective, where like when you're in a scramble format, you will see other people try boulders and you have to be able to try different things. You have to be able to be the first person to break the mold and do something different, because sometimes it might be the best way for you and in general. You need to be able to start a trend. But there's also another way to look at this sort of situation. And also, it's also the fact that, actually, before I continue with this thought, I want to talk about this boulder here, because this was probably my second favorite from the session. I really like that pink one, but this one was cool too. So here I'm using this technique that I've been sort of talking about recently, where I do my side-to-side swing in order to generate for this sort of move, where I go one swing in the direction that I want to go, one in the opposite direction, and that's like the perfect amount of momentum for a swing like this, and I don't need to like swing back and forth a bunch.
And you also notice he like pushes like hard in both directions. It's not like you just swing, let yourself swing back, and then like swing hard. He's like swinging hard in both directions.
And the biggest key with this sort of swing as well, like the biggest element to pay attention to, and where I really think the magic comes from this swing, is you need to generate your power from your lats. It's not even with your hips and like your legs almost. It's like you almost feel like you engage one lat and then you engage the other lat, and then sort of the hips follow at the end. But it's actually like a lat to lat sort of side to side swing. And that's sort of like something you'll notice we've been doing this a lot recently, and it's really been helping me sort of anytime I approach this sort of swing now, I kind of approach it with confidence, like I know what I'm going to do. And that's sort of the power of having like these tools that you can draw from once you sort of learn a movement and understand it. But anyway, I want to continue with that thought I was talking about earlier, which was that Maddie can practice this sort of skill, which is to be able to try beta on her own, even though she's seen beta. And the reason that this is also good is, like I said, it's not just for the scramble events. It's also because when you're in a 5-on-5-off round, maybe like sure in the World Cup, actually oftentimes they'll have you go behind the wall as like sort of the transition zone, like on your 5 off, and then you come back out. But we also have other events to do that aren't just World Cups, like Canadian Nationals, North American Cups, any sort of events, where sometimes the chairs and like your 5 off chair is in front of the wall. And so you're kind of facing away. Now, when you're sitting there in your 5 minutes, oftentimes you'll find yourself, you're kind of just looking around, looking at the crowd, looking at the clock, and everybody sees things out of their peripheral, even if it's not on purpose.
Or like you hear like a big like slam onto the mats, you know they jump for something.
Yeah. Or like even like sometimes you'll hear a cheer and then your head is kind of just drawn to it naturally. And like obviously you're not supposed to be looking, but it sounds
like cheating.
It sounds like cheating, but like it's almost like it's like instinctual and it's not a conscious decision. Like you might like have this reaction where you kind of turn to look and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm not supposed to be looking at this, and you stop. But you will catch something on your peripheral. And even if it's just like a split second, you see a climber in a position and then you look away, you'll have it in your memory. And if it's enough information, even just sometimes like a split second will be enough information for you to go around, turn around on the boulder and see the climber's position in your head and how they're doing something. And you know how many times that I've seen this and it's been a bad position or something that messes me up. Like I can actually think of a couple examples. It's funny, like this one example is coming to my head. I won't go into like and describe all the detail, but there was like one time at a youth nationals. It was at Boulders, Etobicoke. Did you win that? We both won that. It was youth nationals, and I had turned around. Like it was this sort of thing where it was like a reaction. Like my head just sort of turned around. I was like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. And I saw a climber named Man Ellis, who was like a fellow youth competitor for years and years, and I saw him in this one position on a slab, like matching the finish hold because there was a cheer, and like I kind of accidentally looked, and then I went and like tried it. And I remember seeing him do it, and I was like, oh, is this how you're supposed to do it? And in the middle of the climb, I was trying to do what I saw for like literally a split second, and it was like bad, and it messed me up, and I couldn't do it. And then I had to go and do something different in order to finish the slab.
You did still win the event, though, right?
Yeah, I did. But it was like, I think it was like a close slab. It was actually an important climb. Anyway, it is a skill to be able to do something that you have not seen, or like do something that goes against what you've seen other beta, even if it's not scramble. Like this will come into play on 5-on-5 off.
And I think it's also important to like just trust yourself. Like you know how to sequence, right?
It's true.
Like we're like time and time again, we are like better at 5-on-5 off. You know, like we've been training our whole lives on 5-on-5 off. Like we know how to sequence. Mm-hmm. I think in general the rule of thumb should be just don't like. You're trying to watch people for like the 1% chance you get like this revolutionary beta that you wouldn't have thought of that helps you send it, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, more often than not. Also, look at you being
Let me just pause real quick. And this whole time I'm standing on my right is the damage control with dual tech side up. And so I'm like...
Oh, you did it twice?
Well, yeah, I like realized like a tall man just kind of touched the bottom. But then I was like, okay, let me see if I can actually just do this properly. But that climb was super sketchy. They had the dual tech side up.
Well, I'm glad you went back to do it because that frustrates me.
Yeah.
But yeah, just trust yourself. Like you know how to sequence. Just don't take the beta. It's fine.
And it's always like it's so complicated too with like the beta and this sort of like theme.
That was a good fall.
It's just like, do I try beta I've seen or do I try my own beta? It's always hard, and it's sort of like a fluid idea, and there's no right answer all the time. But it is definitely a skill to be able to try beta, your own beta, even when you've seen someone else do it. So Maddie can go and practice this when she climbs at Boulder House and. Well, she's gonna have forgotten all my beta because she doesn't pay attention. But for the things that she does remember, she can try her own stuff. And especially as well as like everyone has different climbing styles too. So what works for someone might not necessarily work for you.
Well, would you say that the beta at this gym was necessarily like that complicated? Like, is there anything that would get tripped up?
No,
about?
That being said, like this was definitely sort of a more powerful gym.
Like it looks like a lot of like paddles. Like this move's like clear. You know, I'm not gonna sequence anything different than you. Maybe just put my feet in different spots.
It's true. So. Yeah, maybe this gym is definitely almost sort of like basic climbing for the most part, and so that's the sort of climbing where your body actually kind of figures it out on its own sometimes. So maybe this gym won't come into play as much, but I'm sure you've like seen probably me climb at some other gyms too.
So what are you doing right now? You're repeating it?
No, so yeah, it's easy to miss like that. I fell, like I fell at the end there, and I grabbed that yellow sloper to save my fall.
Yellow sloper?
Just like this little circle there. I fell, and then I grabbed another hold to save me, basically.
When did you...
Like, it was, like, here. I was reaching up to this hold, and I fell, and I, like, stopped.
Because I couldn't... Because you're in front of it.
It was very missable, so
okay.
I didn't send that on my last try. This is a send here. So this is, like, sort of their comp section of the gym, I guess. I was talking to one of the setters today, and he was just telling me how... I don't remember if the tape meant anything but the grades, but he said, yeah, the boulders are kind of just like comp boulders. They weren't really going for any sort of specific grades, and he told me to get on this boulder because it was the hardest. It took me a few tries to do this first move. It was pretty cool. I had to like sort of, it was cool when you have to hit this green hold, you have to flip your left hand to a press in order to like pull yourself to the side. I really enjoyed that move. And so anyway, this session has been an hour long, so I was nearing the end of my time. I probably had about 50 minutes left. And at this point, I had finished off most of the boulders in the gym. There were probably one or two more, but they were like quite physical looking, and so.
Oh, Zach.
And so I was too tired to try like any of the other physical stuff at this point. There were like a couple power endurance looking boulders that I hadn't gotten on, and so I had looked at the slab and I had seen like an eliminate. Like I wasn't even trying to like find an eliminate of this boulder. I just kind of looked over and I was like, trying to mantle up on this sloper here could be a good variation of a boulder for me. And so at this point, I thought it was actually a perfect time for me to just switch to trying this for a little bit instead of like continuing with the step boulders. That being said, all the step boulders are really good, and I really enjoyed my session here. I'll definitely be coming back to Boulder House. This is a great gym for some on-site practice for me actually as well. Things were going within like 2 to 3 tries. It was like pretty perfect, maybe for like a pre-comp session or something. I really like the boulders here at Boulder House. Good job to the setters.
So let's just take a second to watch Zach do something he's only average at. He's like... Yeah. So bad. Like when we first started training together, it was like jarring how bad he was at mantles. Like
I bet you're thinking of the time at the Mewam gym, aren't you?
Yeah,
you are. So we were in France last summer. Like just
it's like the biggest hold ever. He can't mantle. Like he's trying to like top this thing. I think what do you end up doing? Like you put like your whole body on it.
I don't even remember if I did it. But so yeah, we were like touring France last summer. That was like part of our Europe trip. And we visited like Mikael and Bassa Mewam's gym. They own a gym, which was cool. And we were like, whoa, we didn't know they had a gym. And we went and checked it out. And then there's this one boulder where you had to do this mantle on this big hold, and Maddie did it like really easily. And I was just like flailing all over it. I couldn't do it.
I was like, you got to do some dips, man.
So
like, so bad.
And what have you guys been watching me do for the last like 4 months on this year?
He did not dip at all when we started training a year ago.
I like a tiny bit. What I would do is I used to train muscle ups. Like
well, you never actually used to do like weight training.
Weighted dip. Yeah, I was always like kind of scared about bulking up, but that's just because I wasn't like educated enough on how to train properly. And after like learning a bit more, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll train some weighted dips. So that's what we've been doing for like the past year.
I'm surprised though that this is like so difficult. Is it like
there's a few elements of this move that's making it difficult and why I'm kind of struggling with it right now. And like the sloper is definitely bad, and it's like as well as like a lot of times what I can do and how I can get away with this sort of move is I can almost smear and kick off the wall and sort of go into it dynamically, which I ended up doing on this one. But this volume here, I'm on the right. That's not in for this boulder, and I kind of had to dodge it, which makes it like not a good smear.
But
and
still,
this wall is
from this
too.
Position right there, yeah, like you should be able to like push.
So actually, here let me tell you also what makes this hard. So this is like probably something I need to start tackling too. Is I always feel super confident in my mantles when I go right arm up and I mantle with my right. So anytime it's just like a straight on mantle, I'm always going to go with my right. And I don't even think it's a strength difference. Like both my arms are equally strong at pressing. But I just neurologically, I feel better in my left.
But how do you know that they're equal when you're always doing two-hand dips?
No, you know how you got like a mantle, right? You got your mantle and you go like one arm up first.
But how do you know that your arms are even? Maybe the left does have a deficit.
Maybe. I definitely haven't felt it. Like maybe there is one and I just don't realize. But under my impression now is that they're even and they feel quite even. I've never felt anything different. But anyway, I'm always like trying to go with my right first. And there were a couple tries where I tried to just sort of lock off in a pull-up position and then just do like a slow sort of muscle up, which I've always been bad at. But this hold is slightly tilted to the right, and so it's actually like kind of messed up. You can't do, like it would, it's tilted in the way, where your left arm doesn't want to, where your right, okay, I got him. So it's tilted to the clockwise.
Well, like look at it. Like
it doesn't make sense for me to go like with my right arm up and sort of press like that because it's the wrong angle. And and I can't, so it's set for your left arm to be able to do this. But since I don't feel confident in my left arm, I can't just lock it off, go left arm press and then dip it out. I bet I could do it with my right, just because like neurologically I almost have more coordination like that. So I have to do it dynamically like this. And it's actually really, it ended up being a really cool move. Like sure, it definitely, I kind of had to, not necessarily, like kind of cheat my way through this move and do like a sort of dynamic pull up to get myself a little bit higher in that press, and then I could just press out the end. But yeah, you'll notice I have to like sort of jump up, hit the press like a third of the way in, and then press. And then what was really the really hard part about this move is getting the foot up. And so this also brings me into my tip of the day for this move. And this was like the end of our session. I got a nice little top to finish it off. Went like 8 minutes over time. And
also, how nice is this train station?
This is the Darmstadt train station. It's really pretty. It's like
some good shots.
I'm glad that I have to come to this station a lot to go to this gym now.
Well, this station has your favorite pretzel too.
It does.
It's got like cream cheese. Yeah.
But anyway, the tip of the day for that move and sort of what helped me kind of conquer the crux element of that movement, which was bringing my leg up. My hips are pretty flexible and pretty mobile. Like I can bring them up high, like pretty reasonably. Not the most mobile in the world. Like Maddie would probably have a much easier time getting that foot up than me. But I found myself sort of struggling with that move for a while. And the times that I was falling is I would get my leg up like pretty high, almost like so close to being able to step on that hold. And I would try to basically stop for a second and then almost sort of yank it up at the last second. You know how you sort of use a bit of momentum to get it up at the end? There's
also a world where you can like balance on the one arm and just
I was playing around. I feel like I was optimizing with my arms as much as I could, and it was coming down to the hip, and that was the last part of that move. And so I would try to like sort of just get it up there at the end with my hip. And the nature of like this sort of slab, and especially when you're just doing like a pure mantle move like this on a bad hold on a slab, is that when you do that, you're gonna just use a bit too much momentum, probably hit yourself in the wall and bobble off. And that's what was happening to me over and over. So what I really had to emphasize is, and my tip of the day for this sort of like just straight on pure mantle move where you have to get your foot up at the end and pistol squat it out, is when you're bringing your leg up, I would say that almost like 90% of the time, it's best, you're gonna have the most success where you just keep contracting the muscle. You just, like your quad, you just bring your leg higher and higher and higher and higher. And once you hit that moment where you're like, I just wanna yank it up at the end, you just keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And you are, the only way you're gonna fall off this boulder is if your like leg starts cramping, because it's kind of creating that feeling, right? Where you feel like your quad's about to cramp. You just gotta keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, because as soon as you yank it, you're gonna fall. And that's what I did on that go I sent it. And here I'll pause to just say that this is our second session. I rested for like 4 hours and took the train to Boulderwelt, and we're having a spiral session. But yeah, like I'm pulling and pulling and pulling, and then finally I was like, whoa, I contracted my muscle, my quad just enough where I got the tip of my toe on that volume. Like it was just barely on, but it was just enough for me to pistol squat it out. And it's still like a weakness of mine, like the mantle and the pistol squat. But we've been working on it a lot in the last year. We've been doing dips all over the place and pistol squats all over the place. And both of those skills were put into practice on that boulder. And I was happy to like really see, like a year ago, I would not have been able to do that boulder for the life of me. I wouldn't have been able to dip that mantle out, and I would not have been able to do that pistol squat at the end, because I was really bad at pistol squats. But I've been working on it a lot, and those two basic skills I was able to use to send that boulder, which is really
I think
awesome.
Then the next steps are just front splits. You know, get the high foot to be a little bit easier, because
that's true.
Like you were just saying, like I can guarantee you I would have no problem getting my foot up there. It's just a matter of like just being that mobile.
Yeah. I've been neglecting my front splits, so I got to do those more. And you can see that little like close up of my shoe. So we're trying this boulder. Most of you are probably familiar with this boulder. We've tried it like probably 3 sessions at this point. And today is like, this was my send-off session for this boulder. I was going into this spiral session being like, this is the last time I'm gonna try this boulder. I've worked it to death. This move here at the beginning, I've never stuck it. I'm getting sick of it, and we just need to move on.
Did you send it? Are you gonna send it? Can you give me a spoiler?
No, I'm not gonna spoil it. You'll have to find out. Okay. So, like the important thing to remember with the spiral sessions is that this is like a training tool. It's a training tool to get stronger and better so that I can go climb other boulders. And it's very hard for me to remember that sometimes and realize I'm not trying to send this boulder. I'm trying to work it and use it in order to, just get better. But so that means like once we hit the threshold of like 4 or 5 sessions, we have to say goodbye to some boulders. And I would love to just project this and eventually get a send of it. It's super cool and a super hard boulder, but I'm just starting to get sick of it. And we will get more value from our training if we start making up new spiral boulders. So I'm working this to death. Like, I kind of explained how this hold that I added, the white hold that I'm going to, is like, it's so upside down that I can't gaston it. And what I have to do is I have to stick my thumb in it. And my other fingers are kind of just resting on top. And it's like so bad. And the sloper is like bad. And it's just such an intense flop you have to do with your body to catch this hold, which is pretty good. And the bicycle is also, the big hold is sort of tilted too much to the left. So it's actually not making for like a sinker to hook. It's a bit slopey. And so I've just tried this move so many times and it like feels possible. And that's why we keep revisiting it. But I just worked it to death and I tried my hardest today and I could never stick it. I felt like kind of close. You see I rehearsed the ending a couple times from like the sort of stand start, which is honestly like a V11 boulder just on its own. Like cutting feet on that pinch is really hard. It's really slopey.
Okay, hold on. I have a question. How is it easier for you to walk away from a spray wall boulder than like a normal
Depends on like how cool the boulder is to me and how sort of like inspired I am by it.
Because like you're notoriously, like at least when we started climbing together, you were really bad at walking away from boulders. Like even if it was like clearly, you know, there's no value in doing this, it's just like a hard move, there's better off doing other stuff. Like you could just not like walk away from boulders. Is because you've been spray walling for so long, like do you find that you're walking away more often on spray wall?
I've definitely gotten better at it for sure. And the simple answer is that it's just like, this is sort of like the climber in me, right? It's like people will just climb for the sake of chasing that rush. You know, it's like obviously we climb competitively, but a lot of people don't compete. And they're just chasing that rush of like sending a boulder they've been working on for so long and just getting that like, you know, high of like, yes, I did it. And that's what climbing is all about at the end of the day. And competing is just like sort of like its own sort of lane, right? And so this is like the climber in me. It's like I invested like 5 sessions in that boulder and I wanted to do it. I've like just tried so hard and it's so satisfying when you conquer it finally. But so that's what like why it's like hard to walk away, because I want that like sort of success story. But
see, I would
no dice on that one.
I would just be satisfied just like having gotten stronger on the boulder. I don't care about sending
and so this is like this sort of like meme that's going on in our family is like Maddie is more of an athlete and I'm more of a climber. And so Maddie teaches me how to be a better athlete and I sort of like teach her how to be a better climber.
Oh yeah, he teaches me how to enjoy climbing.
Yeah, because she's very much of the mindset where it's like climbing is sort of the outlet for her to be an athlete and be a professional athlete.
Like, yeah, it just happened to be climbing. It's not like I fell in love with climbing and then competing happened. It was like the competing was what kept me going for sure.
It's pretty funny, eh? And meanwhile, I sort of like can find inspiration in just the climbing more often. That being said, I also love to compete. So anyway, we wrapped up our spiral session by trying this boulder. I was also thinking that this was probably going to be a send-off session at this boulder. We've also tried it for probably like 2 or 3 sessions. This jump off of this white sloper, which is absolute garbage, to the yellow is so hard. I also haven't stuck it. I haven't even stuck it off the jug yet.
It'd be cool to get like another angle of this. Like maybe one day I can like walk up there and just show like how overhanging this is and how bad the sloper is that you're going to, because it doesn't look terrible. Like it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah.
Like because I've been there and I've stood under that wall, I know that it's terrible, but like it doesn't do justice from here.
It's funny, almost like a few times in the session too. It's funny. I like sat down and I'm like, I should go get a close up. I was gonna do it with like that thumb pocket too, because I thought that was interesting. I kept forgetting to do it. I was like, oh no, I'll just do it after this next try, and I kept forgetting to get like a close up. That's something I'll definitely try to do more. But yeah, and that moved it like the jump to the yellow sloper. It also feels really possible, but we've invested a lot of time in it. It's maybe I put one more session. Maybe that goes on to the sort of the good session list that I mentioned a couple days ago, where if I am having like a day where I'm feeling stupidly strong, I'll just go like test out that boulder. I'll give it like a couple ground tries. But I've worked that move to death, and my body's also just starting to reject it. So I don't know. I'm also like I'm pretty psyched to make up some new spray wall boulders. But yeah, that wraps up a pretty cool day of training. Boulderhaus Darmstadt is pretty epic. Can't wait for Maddie to go have a session there and try all those cool boulders.
I got like 5 more days.
Yeah. Oh, 5 days. Wow, yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, so that's like 2 cycles for you.
Yeah.
So I'll probably, are you going to, I guess no, we're going to Munich after this.
So yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do a campus session at Boulderwelt and then a workout, and then it's a rest day. And then, yeah, we're going to do like the last 2 days of this training cycle before my rest week. We're going to go to Munich for Oktoberfest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wanted to go to Oktoberfest because I'm on rest month and I want to go see Oktoberfest. And obviously, there's some good gyms in Munich. Like we almost moved to Munich, so
yeah, we'll try an element.
Yeah, we're gonna try to commit to like once a month going to Munich.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
So
yeah, tune in for that.